In October of 2001, the Miami Fusion had the best record in American professional soccer: 16 wins, 5 losses, 5 ties. The Supporters' Shield, the trophy for the league's best regular season, was theirs. 11 weeks later, the team didn't exist, and the man who ended them wasn't a corporate raider. He wasn't a rival owner or an impatient bank. He was their own commissioner. On Tuesday, January 8, 2002, Don Garber stood in front of the cameras and announced that Major League Soccer was folding 2 of its own clubs, the Miami Fusion and the Tampa Bay Mutiny. 12 teams became 10, both of Florida's franchises, erased in a single afternoon. Leagues don't usually execute their own champions, so how did it come to this? The answer runs through a stadium lease in Tampa that quietly handed an NFL team the first $2 million of soccer money every single year, through a cell phone millionaire in Miami who built the league a real soccer stadium, then asked for help nobody wanted to give, and through 3 billionaires who were done writing checks. Keep that Tampa lease in mind. It's the strangest document in this whole story. Start with the structure, because nothing about January 8th makes sense without it. Major League Soccer isn't a league of independent teams. It's one company, a single entity. The league office owns every club, every player contract, every trademark. The people who look like owners are technically investor operators, businessmen who pay for the right to run a team the league itself owns. It was designed that way in the 90s to keep costs and owners under control. By late 2001, the design was failing anyway. The league had lost roughly $250 million since its first kickoff in 1996. Don Garber and league officials were quietly consulting bankruptcy attorneys, and the pool of committed investors had shrunk to 3 men: Phil Anschutz, Lamar Hunt, and Robert Kraft, bankrolling nearly everything. 3 wallets, 12 teams. Every dollar any club lost came out of those 3 pockets. Now look at Tampa through their eyes. The Mutiny weren't just losing money, they were built so they couldn't make it. The club had belonged to the league office since day one. No local owner ever bought in. Then, in 1998, the city demolished Tampa Stadium, and the Mutiny moved into brand new Raymond James Stadium on a lease that reads like a punishment. The first $2 million in parking and concessions each year went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not a percentage, the first $2 million. Whatever came in above that was split between the Buccaneers and the local sports authority. The soccer club sold the tickets and the hot dogs. The football team cashed the check. That single arrangement made the Mutiny unsellable. The league courted the most logical buyer in town, Malcolm Glazer and his family, the owners of the Buccaneers themselves. The Glazers looked at it and passed. Of course they did. They were already collecting the Mutiny's matchday revenue without the inconvenience of owning the Mutiny. The team played its final home game on September 9, 2001, a 2-1 loss to Columbus, in front of 9,932 people. Miami was a different kind of death. The Fusion had a real owner, a man named Ken Horowitz, and a real soccer stadium. What they didn't have was money coming in. The Fusion ranked dead last in the league in revenue. 4 seasons had produced roughly $15 million in operating losses. The club was running on a bare minimum budget, and by the end, Horowitz was asking the league itself to help cover expenses. Remember what that means in a single entity league. He wasn't petitioning some faceless office. He was asking Anschutz, Hunt, and Kraft to pay his bills while their own losses piled up. Garber's stated reasons for folding Miami were blunt: too little revenue and no meaningful corporate sponsorship. So on January 8, 2002, the Board of Governors voted, and Garber faced the press. I know many out there think this is the end of Major League Soccer, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We simply could not find a solution that was economically feasible at this time, and we hope to return to the state of Florida when the league expands in future years. 2 teams, dead by press release. What makes it sting is that both of these teams had once been the league's proof of concept. Rewind to 1996. The Mutiny were a charter club in MLS's very first season, and they were the best thing in it. Carlos Valderrama, the great Colombian captain, became the league's first most valuable player, with 4 goals and 17 assists. Roy Lassiter scored 27 goals, a league record. Tampa Bay finished with the best record in the league, 20 wins and 12 losses, and when MLS later created the Supporters' Shield, it went back and named the Mutiny its first winner. Miami's story began with a believer. Ken Horowitz had made his fortune founding Cellular One. In the spring of 1997, he paid a $20 million expansion fee for a Miami franchise. Then he spent $5 million more turning Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale into a 20,000-seat home built just for soccer, the kind of intimate, soccer-first venue the league would spend the next 2 decades chasing. And in 2001, under their charismatic coach Ray Hudson, it all finally clicked. Attendance jumped by nearly 4,000 a game. The team ran up that league best record and lifted the shield. It didn't matter. The average crowd was still just 11,177, 4th lowest in the league. Revenue stayed dead last. By some reports, Horowitz had put around $50 million into the project in all. The fee, the stadium, and year after year of losses. In that winter, in that league, a trophy couldn't buy a single day. Here's the cold part. It worked. 10 teams meant fewer payrolls, tighter conferences, less cross-country travel. Costs came down, the league steadied itself, and the collapse everyone expected never arrived. MLS survived, then grew, and years later, it came back to Florida, just as Garber promised. When the 2002 contraction gets remembered at all, it's remembered as the night MLS saved itself. But that's the league's version. The other half never got written. Tampa didn't lose its team because the city wouldn't watch soccer. It lost the team because of a lease that sent a soccer crowd's first $2 million to a football franchise, and because the one family rich enough to fix it profited more by saying no. And Miami didn't lose a failure. It lost a champion, a team erased 11 weeks after the finest season in its history by the very league whose trophy it had just won. 3 investors, 1 commissioner, 2 teams marked down to 0, and a sports page that filed it under sad news and moved on. This is the business story the news coverage missed.